Most everyone is familiar with Bigfoot. Heck, even I've been known to go looking for the thing a time or 20 in my day. And I may or may not have given my kid nightmares from watching the Bigfoot hunting shows when he was a lot younger. I just use Bigfoot as an example here, as it's one of the most well-known cryptid creatures to most people. Another creature exists though, one not so well known to the layman, and has almost as wide of a range of sightings as Bigfoot does. The Dogman. Haven't heard that term before? Well, if not, picture a werewolf. Not your overgrown German Shepherd Team Jacob type. We're talking massive creatures, standing on two legs, the stuff of nightmares type werewolf. I've stumbled across the creatures before in research, mostly out of Michigan. I've always wanted to touch on the legend of the Dogman, but, Michigan and all, you're a little outside my regional expertise. But a recent request from subscriber Firecracker187 piqued my interest. We've got at least one here, come to find out. Don't worry, Cajuns and Creoles, I know about the Rougarou. I think that may be a little different than the normal Dogman, and I'm digging into that one as well, but let's not get sidetracked. Today, let's go to the border of Tennessee and Kentucky, to a national recreation area, and see what we can find out about the beast of the land between the lakes. Everyone loves a good strange, weird, or bizarre story. Well, welcome to the American South, where dark legends and haunted history lurk around every corner. Where superstition, folklore, and a touch of backwoods magic blend with everyday culture. Some say, in order to survive. This is Dixie After Dark. Land Between the Lakes National Recreation Area covers over 171,000 acres in Kentucky and Tennessee. It was designated as a National Recreation Area in 1963 by President JFK, just a couple of decades after the Tennessee Valley Authority constructed dams on nearby rivers, creating Lake Bartley and Kentucky Lake. The land for the project was seized by the government, and the local communities there were forced out, leaving towns like Birmingham, Kentucky, completely underwater. What dry land remained is now called Land Between the Lakes. The majority of what was formerly known as Land Between the Rivers since at least the 1840s. As if the government encroachment of the area wasn't bad enough, it's said that there was something else in the area as well. Something more sinister. Yeah, even more sinister than the government. A creature, stalking around on two legs like a man, but, for all accounts, the body of a giant, wolf-like creature. It was said to be 7 feet tall, covered in fur, and had large 5-fingered hands like a man, but the fingers were tipped with massive claws. The earliest written accounts come from French explorers and traders in the area. They were warned by local Shawnee tribes of a shadowy beast that prowled the forest, a creature the French called a loup-garou. To the French, this was a cursed man, cursed to become a creature, and the word eventually evolved to what our Louisiana brothers and sisters now call the Rougarou. Although there are slight differences between the two, the overall concept is the same. A hulking, wolf-humanoid creature prowling the night, much more aggressive and menacing than a Bigfoot. The early explorers and traders in the region that would later become known as Land Between the Lakes tell accounts of when bison were still native to Kentucky. They tell how they encountered bison carcasses, mutilated, half-eaten, their throats ripped open by massive claws. Some Shawnee natives told stories of a Shawnee shaman who was a shapeshifter. Their legend says that this shaman was killed by his village while still in wolf form for abusing his powers. Their stories say the shaman's spirit still stalks the woods, looking for revenge. Another possible origin story tells of an early European family that settled in the area. It was said they carried a hereditary sickness that caused them to go completely mad after nightfall. They came to the region in search of seclusion, never socializing with anyone unless absolutely necessary. After some time, traders and settlers realized they had not been heard from in quite some time. An investigation was sent out, only to find their homestead completely abandoned. Whichever tale you want to believe, the mutilated carcasses of the bison remained. And if you know anything about bison, you know how much larger than cattle those things are. Something big was out there. Something very big. Stories also persist of hunters going missing, both native and European. They also tell tales of unnatural howls echoing through the night. Events, sightings, and even encounters persisted through the centuries. You can't help but wonder if all this was known when the Tennessee Valley Authority seized the land in the 1940s. Was it an effort to contain the creatures? History tells us that the projects of the dam were done in the area to bring new jobs to the area, a much-needed thing during the Great Depression. But who are you hiring? You're flooding out the locals. Okay, I need to stay focused. That's a different type of video that may not be suited for this channel. The place became known as Land Between the Lakes National Recreation Area. Recreation areas differ from national parks in that hunting is allowed on top of the normally expected hiking, fishing, and camping. Through all this, sightings and stories of the creature continued. Some of the more modern sightings include a group of university students in 1973. They were out camping, enjoying a nice fire one night, when, out of the blue, the mood changed. They felt like something was watching them. As their nerves continued to grow, they started hearing shuffling in the shadows, just out of reach of the light of the campfire. It sounded like something circling their campsite, but when they checked it out with flashlights, they found nothing. They tried to calm themselves and just laugh it off, but that's when the howling began. They described it as wild, insane howling. One said it had an unnatural quality to it, stopping just shy of having a mocking laughter quality. The howling seemed to move, still circling the campsite. It's when they caught a glimpse of glowing red eyes that they decided enough was enough. They retreated to their van and tore out of there, leaving everything else behind. It doesn't stop there, though. The group reports seeing something in the shadows chasing them, a massive figure, barely visible in the taillights of the van. The driver was forced to slow down for a second for an upcoming turn in the road, and that's when the creature caught up to them. They describe a massive jolt in the van, as if it was hit from behind. The driver floored the gas, but the van would not move. It was being held in place, it seems. The driver stayed on the gas, and they tell how the tires squealed and smoked, but the van still did not move. After a few seconds, though, it was as if the van was released or broke free, and the students didn't stop until they were back at Murray State University. Back at school, they found 4 deep gashes, like claw marks, torn into the metal of the rear of the van. Another widely told story tells of an entire family slain by the beast in the 1980s. Police are said to have found mutilated remains in a motorhome, and the half-eaten remains of a young girl lodged in a nearby tree. All bodies were said to be covered in claw marks. Although it's said authorities covered up the crime to not affect tourism, a woman named Jeanette Thompson claims to have been interviewed by police about the incident. She worked at a nearby gas station and was questioned about seeing the family and anyone else coming or going from the area. She states police told her about shredded, blood-soaked clothing spread all over the place. Their story at the time was that it was a random stabbing. Recording of the howls, remains of attacked animals, and even sightings persist today. A recent report from 2017 near Wrangler's Camp even has the beast narrowly missing being hit by a car while chasing a deer across the road at night. There are also reported sightings of Bigfoot in the region, but none from the territory of the werewolf-like beast. Nearly all sightings or evidence gathered of the beast of Land Between the Lakes has been north of Highway 80. If you're one that enjoys real-time, boots-on-the-ground investigations of creatures such as this, I highly recommend the YouTube channel Hellbent Holler. Jesse and Joe have tons of videos researching not only beasts of Land Between the Lakes, but others as well, covering pretty much all of Appalachia. The legend of the beast of Land Between the Lakes can be somewhat divisive as well, though. When the recreational area was created, more than 700 families were forced from the area. That's why so many small family cemeteries cover that area. And some of those former residents, some who are still alive, have been fighting to get their land and homes back ever since. Those residents find the legend of the creature offensive and don't believe it at all. I have one last story I'll leave with you. There is one reoccurring account I kept coming across of a survivor of an attack of the beast, a man only identified as Roger. Roger has spoken to several media outlets and such, but always hiding his identity. His story takes place just before sunset in a remote campsite. Roger is there with a family of 4, camping in a motorhome. Mother and daughter Diane and Connie were resting inside while father and son Levi and Stephen were setting up camp and gathering firewood. Roger was preparing for some target practice with his shotgun, collecting cans from inside the camper to be used as targets. It's then that Roger says he heard commotion outside, followed by yelling. He looked out the window and saw Levi running around the front of the motorhome. The driver's door was then snatched open, and Levi grabbed his own shotgun from inside before running to the back of the motorhome. Roger rushed out to see what's up, just in time to see the son Stephen being hoisted in the air by a tall, massive beast. The father, Levi, fires on the beast, hitting it in the shoulder. Roger then claims the beast dropped the body of Stephen and rushed at Levi, tearing him to shreds. Roger fired on the beast as well, hitting it in the shoulder again, but this time closer to the neck. The creature was hurt, but didn't fall. It turned and snarled at Roger before circling around the other side of the camper. Roger panicked and dropped to the ground, rolling beneath the camper to hide. It's then that he claims to hear a window shatter, the camper being rocked violently, and the screams of Diane and Connie from inside. After a few moments, all fell quiet. Roger eventually comes out from his hiding spot to find Diane, Stephen, and Levi are all dead, and Connie is missing. Roger makes a run for it, and is found later running down the road by a man in a pickup truck. The driver picks Roger up and takes him to his home to call the authorities. To be fair, I will point out that Roger's story has seemed to change from time to time. One telling has the beast being a single stalker. Another has a second beast joining in after the first one is wounded. Either way, Roger's story gets even more bizarre. Two agents from an, quote, unknown organization show up at the house to pick up Roger and take him back to the scene. When they get there, the place is crawling with agents, presumably men in black from the way he describes it. One agent, who Roger called Walt, stays with him the whole time, asking questions and having Roger point out everything. It's then that someone else calls out from the wood line for assistance. Everyone points their lights in that direction, and Roger sees the body of the creature up in a tree. It appears that Roger's shotgun blast to the neck had done its job over time. The body of the daughter, Connie, was found not far away. Roger claims to have no knowledge of what happened to the body of the creature after that. Of course, why would he know? If we take the account as truth, it's not hard to speculate that it was carted away and kept secret. Yeah, I know, it's a stretch. The men in black types are a convenient way of saying, there's no evidence anymore, so you just gotta trust me. Still though, accounts like that get me thinking rather than writing them off totally. Would the government really try to cover up creature attacks to try and hide the evidence of existence of the beast? Or is the government covering up something else, letting the rumors of monsters persist, limiting the amount of people willing to investigate, either out of fear or just thinking the stories are too crazy? That may sound crazy, but you have to remember, I live only about 45 minutes from Tuskegee, Alabama. We all know about the experimentation that went on there. It just kinda makes me wonder.